and get me!
Frankly, there's a lot riding on Captain America: Brave New World. It's an important installment with heavy implications. So how is the creative process going into that?
Yeah, our process kind of doesn't change movie to movie.
Business as usual?
Yeah, and not because we don't care, but because we care about everything equally. But this one was special. Look, coming out of both Endgame, when Steve handed Sam the shield, and then the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, where we kind of got to follow Sam's decision to take the mantle, we knew then we had built an opportunity to bring Captain America back to the big screen. And we wanted to make sure we did right by the character. I know there's a ton of love for Steve Rogers, and I love that character as well. But Sam Wilson is a different kind of Captain America. So we wanted to make sure the film felt like his film and not like he was occupying someone else's space.
I love that. A lot of your projects contain some of the most personal stakes in the MCU. How is it that they feel so deeply personal when there's so much otherworldly chaos and madness happening? And where does that sense of groundedness come from?
Yeah, I think the best Marvel films are the ones where you do understand the personal journey of the characters.
Same.
This is going to sound weird. It's actually easier to build action sequences than it is to find really dramatic human moments. And so those are the things I want to focus on first, both with the writers and the filmmakers. It's always about what's the story for the character. And even the secondary characters, you kind of can't leave them behind either, right? Everybody has to be kind of speaking to the same theme.
Sure.
And then you can put all the bells and whistles on top of that. But I don't think any action is meaningful unless you care about the character. So again, we try to build it inside out. We're not always successful, but that's our intent. And hopefully that's why people keep coming back to these movies, to go to the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I really appreciate about the projects you work on is that they're so coherent in the creator's visions.
Right.
Why is that important to you, especially in a franchise where there's so much planning and oversight involved?
Yeah, I don't think the films are going to be any good unless the filmmakers have ownership, right? So you have to make sure that even though it is built into the larger tapestry of the MCU, that the filmmakers really believe in the films that they're making, and that the films that they're making are contained and they feel like a complete story, even if you never see another MCU movie. And again, then the connective tissue can be a fun thing for super fans to follow, but a casual fan can still understand and appreciate the movie on its own.
Yeah. You've been with the franchise since Captain America: Winter Soldier. How exciting is it for you to see it evolve to the point where Sam is now Captain America?
It's super exciting. And if you think about it, when we were making Captain America: Winter Soldier, publishing hadn't given Sam the shield yet. That wasn't until 2014. So it wasn't even something that was on our mind until we sort of saw what publishing had done with the character. And I don't think we would have made it to this point besides the fact that Anthony Mackie is so talented.
Yeah.
In that first film, I think he surprised a lot of people. I remember this. The first time I pitched having Sam Wilson in the movie, Marcus and McFeely, the writers of that movie, were like, why would you want the Falcon? Right? Because he was sort of a little bit of a secondary character, even in publishing. He wore a tiara, he talked to birds. But I think Anthony Mackie really grounded the character in reality. And he's so charismatic, and I think people want to follow him. So it does feel kind of like a full circle moment that now we're here, and now he's carrying the shield of the man that he once partnered with. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I'm so excited for Anthony Mackie's tenure as Captain America because it feels like one of the most earned arcs throughout the entire franchise. So what are you most excited to see from him?
I think I'm always excited to see him perform, but I think people are going to be surprised at the range of his performance. He can be funny, he can be dramatic, he can be emotional. He's great at stunts, so it's fun to build action around him because he can do a lot of it himself. And I think the character has grown into a leadership capacity that maybe surprised some people. And he's human. So there's something a little bit more relatable about this Captain America, who's not a super soldier, nor is he a man out of time.
Yeah.
So the way that Sam Wilson walks through the world is just necessarily different than Steve Rogers. And I think that's going to hopefully make people fall for him even more.
Yeah. Really quickly, back to Captain America: Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most distinct entries in the MCU.
Yep.
Brave New World is kind of similar and it's grounded in grittiness.
Yep.
So how do you work around such a massive success, and how do you replicate what worked without feeling like a retread?
Yeah, a lot of it is, to your point, we always want our movies to feel distinct, but I do think Captain America lends itself as a franchise to sort of the political thriller genre. But even in that genre, there's a wide, sort of gamut of ways to express that. And Joe and Anthony Russo, I love them so much. They love handheld cameras. They love quick cutting. They love, sort of this propulsive kind of filmmaking. I think Julius's approach to this film was to be a little bit more considered, for it to feel a little bit more like a throwback, like The Parallax View or Day of the Jackal. So the camera is going to move a bit differently. The music, I think, is really steeped in the 70s sound in a way that I think is really interesting. And I think grounding everything allows the special things to be more special, right? Because Sam is human, his world is human, but when you start talking about Tiamat or a Red Hulk, those things can become more special because everything else isn't as heightened.
Yeah. What is it about Sam? He's not a super soldier. He's not a Norse god. What is it about him that thinks that he can take on a Red Hulk?
That's a great question. I'm not sure he has a decision. To be quite honest, sometimes trouble finds you. But I think, Sam Wilson, if he could, would try to solve every problem with his mind, right? He's a counselor first. He doesn't prefer to throw a punch, but when push comes to shove and it's about defending others, I think that's when Sam really kicks it into high gear. And I think that's why it makes him a special Captain America.
Yeah, I agree. What's going on with Armor Wars? Can you give us any information about that?
That's not my project, to be honest, but I do know, as Marvel continues to go through this phase, we want to make sure whatever we're making is awesome. And so that means we had to slow down some things that were sort of on the front burner. It doesn't mean we'll never make it, but it does mean we just have to be a little bit more considered so that every time out, audiences are guaranteed quality.
Sure. Regarding Black Panther 3,
yes.
What was it like for you recently when Denzel Washington came out and spoke about Ryan Coogler writing a role for him? Have you guys figured out what that role is going to be
we
yet?
haven't, and that's what's so funny about his comments. And I do believe he actually called Ryan to apologize because, look, we should be so lucky, but yeah, that's super early days. Ryan is finishing his film Sinners, which is going to be amazing.
I'm excited for that.
We haven't started really cracking story. So I know there's a lot of speculation and casting rumors online. None of it's true, which is fine. I think it speaks to people's passion for the property, which is great. But look, if and when we can figure out how to get Denzel in the MCU, that's going to be an amazing day. And I couldn't be more excited for what Panther 3 could be.
I'm incredibly excited for that as well. At the end of 2024, we learned that you were becoming an independent producer.
Sure.
So can you tell us anything about your next non-MCU movie?
I'm sort of building out what those things are going to be. But, as you said, I'm not leaving completely because I love these films and I've grown up on comics and I've grown up with this team here at Marvel. But I am excited to make other kinds of films, other sizes of films. And hopefully I can make things that are as impactful as the things I've worked on so far.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out, man.